Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello, my name is Bins and I welcome you to this clear video slash walkthrough video of a Creeper World 2 custom map I've made called Next Step 7. In previous videos I've always used annotations on screen, however this time I decided to do a voiceover because I want to show you not only how to get through the mission, but also many of the numerous traps you can walk into, which will help explain why certain things have to be done in a certain way or in a certain order. I feel like audio commentary is an easier way to achieve this than text boxes on screen. Now, if you're not fond of this, perhaps because you don't like the sound of my voice, or because you don't like my accent, given that English is not my native language, or any other reason really, don't hesitate to let me know in any way you see fit. I am open to this kind of feedback, so I will probably take that into account for the next video. So let's get started. On the opening screen, we see that this is not an obliteration map, but an acquisition map, which means that we won't be needing to destroy all of the enemy units in order to win, but only collect all the capsules. We'll see that, as a matter of fact, there is only one capsule that you'll need to obtain. Let's dive in. When you start the mission, you get greeted by a text box that reads, "Welcome to a new episode in the Next Step series. I am Bins, your passionate tour guide in this new and humbling quest for glory." I admit that the previous trip down Next Step lane was quite cumbersome, so I made this one a lot easier. All you need to do to be successful in this mission is grab the capsule located right below the liberation ship. That's this capsule right here. Just mine some more, collect the capsule, and that'll be that. Easy enough, right? I bet even a toddler could do it. Okay, maybe a smart toddler. Alright, fine, that was a lie. You know the drill though. Collect the goodies, check every inch of this map thoroughly, and find out how to advance. I've set up an elaborate web of refined traps to walk into, and I'll also have you know that there are some very sneaky force fields in effect. Therefore, saving often will equal saving yourself a lot of frustration. Ready to dance? And the stage is yours. Antoine and I will be cheering you on from the sidelines. So I'm going to start and immediately pause the mission. We select the capsule because that is our final goal, and the only thing keeping us from acquiring it is a block with 7,000 ore units in it. Now 7,000 is quite the amount, and if you know anything about my style or you've played any of the previous Next Step missions, you can already guess that you're going to have to make your way through the entire map in order to get it done. The reason for this is that the ore deposit in this block is a lot higher than our ore storage capacity, and we're going to need to maximize that capacity in order to get those 7,000 ore units mined. There are two places where the game stores mined ore. One is the regular ore, indicated by the gauge at the top of the screen. But if there's any anti-creeper maker on the map set to charge, then that is additional space for mined ore to be stored. There are 3 anti-creeper makers stacked on top of each other, and I'm going to show you that you can't tamper with these in any way. If you wanted to circumvent the entire premise of this map by setting one of the anti-creeper makers to produce, then you'll immediately destroy the capsule, resulting in mission failure right off the bat. You get the same result if you destroy one of the anti-creeper makers, by the way, not that that would otherwise benefit you in any form or fashion. So let's retrieve our save state. Once the mission starts, you have to realize that there is a phantom gate on a pretty tight timer. Even though the phantoms coming from this gate contain anti-creeper and not creeper, sooner or later they will hit some place where they cause a field to flip, which would destroy one of the bunkers or perhaps the capsule itself, and that would again result in mission failure. So the very first thing to do is pause the game and mark these 2 blocks for excavation as soon as the mission starts, so that the nullifier can destroy the phantom gateway before it fires. Once that's done, we can select the holocube, which when collected reads, "Hey, wait a minute. No, seriously, wait a minute. This is the first step well taken. On to the next one." What I mean by wait a minute is quite literally that you have to wait for about a minute and let the mission do its thing. The reason for it is that at this early stage of the mission we are on a very tight energy budget, and we can't afford to spend any of the 18 crystals we were given at the beginning. the ore deposits are filling up, and as long as that's the case, the ore rigs will consume energy, which we desperately need for other things. If we wait until the ore deposits are filled, then the ore rigs will stop mining, which means they'll stop consuming energy. So once that's done and our energy level is replenished, we can select the block in the corner and obtain the repulsor tech. Keeping an eye on our crystal reserve, you can then obtain the repulsor tech, which gives you a text message saying, "First tech secured, you're off to a good start. You still have those 18 crystals I gave you to start the mission? Good, that's what I like to hear. Onward to the next step." Our next step is to build a repulsor in this corner. Make sure it is set to medium and pointing towards the right. Again, we'll wait for our energy levels to be replenished before we enable it. The repulsor is now pushing the creeper pool to the right and against the block, which is a decayable block now eroding because it is in touch with creeper. Mark the nanochip below it as soon as the block has disappeared. 4 drones are then set free and make their way towards the left, which is the point in time where you'll absolutely need those 18 starter crystals. When you collect the nanochip, it reads, "This might be one of the only Creeper World 2 maps where upgrade timing is a thing to take into consideration. I like to be a pioneer like that." I will get back to the upgrading timing bit, but first let me show you that if you give in to the urge to break the block above the drone gate, you'll cause this micro rift in the other room to get destroyed. You will need that micro rift later, so you can't make this move yet. Instead, what you want to do is make your way upwards toward the ore rig tech, which, even if you've done everything right, will be a very close call. Collecting the tech comes with another message that says, "Remember, if there are no phantoms or drones coming from the gate, then it must be a dig packet gateway, and if it's twitching, then it means something must be blocking its way." We'll get back to this later. The next impending trap is to let the first of the 4 drones take out the repulsor, which will destroy that drone, after which a new and faster drone will be spawned from the gate. Since you have no means to defend yourself at this stage, the drones will collide with the liberation ship and kill it. To prevent that from happening, as soon as you've collected the ore rig tech, destroy the repulsor. This will buy you some extra time to get out of the utterly vulnerable predicament you're in. So we can now build an ore rig that'll allow us to advance, and this is the point in time where I'll get back to the upgrade timing part. See, usually all lit ore rigs on a map will mine ore simultaneously as long as there is storage capacity. What that implies for our scenario is that if you upgrade your ore storage capacity, you buy yourself a narrow time frame in which you can quickly mine the ore inside any block that's obstructing the passage before the global storage is satiated again. I'm building a repulsor at the same time to save some seconds, and I'm setting it to disconnect to save energy. Disconnecting a unit means that it won't receive any red packets from the liberation ship, but it will use up the remaining ammo it has in order to do its job. The fact that the gateway is twitching means that there is anti-creeper blocking the dig packets. By pointing the repulsor at the gate, you can make that anti-creeper evaporate and enable the gateway. Next, I'm going to destroy the repulsor again. The reason why is because we're setting another drone free and we actually want to ensure it also hits the liberation ship. Because of the unpredictable behavior of drones, chances are that it will go for and destroy the repulsor instead, which means that we would get stuck later. Our aim and only hope of getting out of this situation is freeing the trapped bunker that's located next to the drone gate in time, as it is our only line of defense. If the first of the 4 drones coming from the left hits the liberation ship, a new and significantly faster one will spawn shortly after. Will we be able to free the bunker in time? It's quite a close shave, but now we have the bunker guarding the gate. Now, The Liberation ship has 20 hit points, and each drone impact chips off 5 of them, which means the ship can take 4 hits. However, the health slowly regenerates, which means that if we manage to get over 5 HP before the last drone hits... then we'll stay afloat by a tight margin and simultaneously get access to a new nanochip which tells us, holy cow, talk about putting your life on the line, well done. With this Tech Knight, you should be able to advance. Meanwhile, we can obtain another holocube, which reads, what a convenience. You're getting access to the Dark Beam tech this early in the mission! Must be your lucky day, smiley face. It's a trap! It's a trap indeed, because I'll show you what happens if you excavate the block. Exactly. Game over. So, we'll have to be patient for that one. Instead, we're going to make our way down into the maze, using the 2 Tech Knights we've obtained meanwhile, in order to employ the same ore storage upgrade trick again. Once we're in, we obtain a new holocube that sarcastically lets us know that the tricky maze will be tricky. The problem with this section is that if you simply mark the nanochips for collection, as you can see, your packets will be choked up on entry every time. The answer lies in the timing of clicking on these nanochips. If the Liberation ship sends the packets out later, then they will make it through the maze. There we go. By the time you collect the second nanochip, a notification tells you that I think 2 is a healthy amount of Tech Knights to spend on your next upgrade. Indeed, we're going to spend the 2 new Tech Knights obtained on a packet speed upgrade, otherwise the packets simply won't be fast enough. In the meantime, some drones keep blowing up in the background, which serves no other purpose than to help break your concentration in getting the timing right and fuel that extra bit of rage and frustration. As you can see, I myself am struggling too. There we go. It's getting increasingly hard to collect these, isn't it? If you have trouble with the timing, here is a hint. Collect next Tech Knight to continue reading. I'm a bit of a jerk, aren't I? Alright, on to the next one. Okay. If you need help advancing, enable the frame rate viewer. Hotkey is the equal sign, and look at the last 2 digits. Collect next Tech Knight to continue reading. Damn it! Okay, so if you press the equal sign on your keyboard, you can see the frame count of the mission. The hint tells us that we'll have to focus on the last 2 digits, but that in itself doesn't help us yet. So we'll try to obtain the last nanochip, which, as you can tell, is the hardest one to get. It even took me some attempts, and I'm the creator of this goddamn thing. When you finally make it, the accompanying message reads, so, what about those last 2 digits? Well, we all know that the answer to life, the universe and everything is 42. What this means is that you have to make sure that those 2 digits amount to 42. There we go. And then we mark the block for excavation. The packets sent out by the Liberation ship will make it through with frame-tight precision. Let's do it again. Count to 42. Click. And boop! It makes it through. The third time around, the block will get broken, some anti-creeper is released that sets up shop in the top right corner, and I'm building a repulsor because we will need it later. We have access to a new nanochip, which reads, "You think your packets will be fast enough for the next section? Well, I don't. Our Teknite count is now at 4, which is enough for another packet speed upgrade." Next, the dig packet gateway is trying to get this block broken, but the anti-creeper we've set free is blocking the way. So if we enable the repulsor we've built and let it push the anti-creeper down, the path is open. Collect some crystals, and as you free the bunker, it will automatically start shooting some of the creeper away. So you can now build an ore rig on the freed up terrain. You can collect the bunker, which informs you that the micro rift located by this bunker will be safe from creeper. Keep that in mind. Indeed, this micro rift right here won't be destroyed by creeper, no matter what happens in this section later on. We can also obtain another hollow cube. This little cavity has some weird properties. Stay vigilant. Okay, thanks for the tip, I guess. We'll see what that entails at a later point. So, we can now basically advance, but we're still missing a Teknite for another ore storage upgrade. However, with the opening up of the micro rift, we can now access the top left of the map with another hollow cube that contains an extra Teknite as well as an important message. Remember the days where I used to hint at how to upgrade by always giving you a specific amount of Teknites at once? Well, I think we've grown as humans since then. I don't want to patronize you like that anymore. In this mission, you'll go collecting scattered Teknites along the way, leaving it up to you to decide when and how you want to upgrade. You decide when you've done enough saving. You decide when it's time to treat yourself. I knew you'd appreciate this kind of autonomy. So we now have enough for a new upgrade, performing the same upgrade trick yet again. The ore will be mined. You can break the block, and as soon as you do, the enemy dig packet gateway will spring into action again. Now, below this block there is a fixed pixel of creeper. As more blocks are broken, you can see that creeper will be fed to the middle, which will ultimately amass to a point where the creeper will flip into anti-creeper. We can select some more nanochips while we wait. I'm going to create another safe state here and show you the importance of setting the repulsor to short. If it is set to medium or long, then we'll sabotage the mechanism, which is getting as much creeper into the middle dot, and you'll be stuck. Eventually, the rocket launcher would also be destroyed. If the repulsor is set to short, however, or if you disable it at the right time, you'll prevent this from happening and the creeper will do its thing as intended. Once the last block is broken, you may disable or even destroy the repulsor. It won't be of any more use to you. Now, you wait for the creeper to flip. Once the creeper flips, the entire room will fill with anti-creeper, after which you'll be able to get the rocket launcher out of the bottom left corner. The next thing you should be aware of, in case you didn't know, is that launchers can shoot their rockets through micro rifts, but only on the condition that both the micro rifts and the target creeper are all within range of the rocket launcher itself. There is precisely one spot on the map, which is this spot right here, where you can place the launcher to do exactly that. If you place it there, the launcher will start shooting into the other room, clearing the way in order for you to obtain the next hollow cube. The hollow cube contains a message which says, "Here is a riddle for you. What happens if you try to obtain the blue and white crystals before the red and green ones? You can either find out for yourself, or take it from me that you don't want to know the answer." Well, I'm going to show you what happens if you try to do it in the wrong order. If you break the block with the blue crystal in it, there will be yet another sneaky little force field that will destroy the micro rift, and you're stuck yet again. so let's load our save state and collect the Teknite instead. There we go, same drill, pun intended. By the way, have you ever heard the expression killing two birds with one stone? What this implies is that you have to try and get two for the price of one. Excavate two of those obstructing ore blocks with only one upgrade. However, you have no more ore rigs to build, right? Wrong. There are plenty, but the screen indications are a bit misleading. There are a bunch of ore rigs stacked on top of each other right near the Liberation ship. If you destroy the top one, you can build a new one wherever you like. Wait until the second one is built, perform the same upgrade trick, and you get two pathways for the price of one. Now I'm going to create another save state and show you that if you're too eager unblocking this bunker, it will start shooting at the immobile drone and release a ton of anti-creeper into the room, which will not only permanently block the gateway, but also destroy the micro rift, after which you'll be stuck again. So we move up towards the red crystal instead. Breaking the block will cause the creeper to fall down and within range of the launcher again. There is a weak force field that keeps some of the creeper afloat, which means that we'll have to build an additional repulsor in order to clear the area. This brings us to the next potential trap. If you push the creeper upward, collect the red crystal and break the next block, you'll trap the creeper in a force field that you won't get it out anymore. Not even if you try to push it out with the repulsor again. So, that's it. Game over. What you need to do, probably counterintuitively, is push the creeper down instead of up. The launcher can now clear all the creeper, and you can access both the red and green crystal. I'm going to move the launcher out because it will be useful later. Once the green crystal is obtained, we can magically go for the blue crystal now and have a different outcome than before. Look at what happens when the block breaks. Anti-creeper is now transported to the top left of the room, killing a drone, but leaving the micro rift intact. It is here that we get to see the properties of the weird cavity I mentioned before. Creeper is channeled up and down, back and forth, from this spot into the weird cavity. The reason I'm setting up a repulsor is because our next aim is obtaining the nullifier tech that's located in this block right here. The problem is that the dig packet gateway has to send the packets through the micro rift, and one of them is drenched in a pool of anti-creeper. So we need to get rid of this anti-creeper in order to advance, and we can speed up the process a bit by pushing anti-creeper towards the right and into the cavity. Now, you'll notice that initially the anti-creeper will overpower the creeper. No worries though. If you let the map do its thing, then a new drone will be killed, and this time around, the creeper below will overpower the anti-creeper and spread like wildfire. Once all anti-creeper has evaporated, the gateway will spring into action again, clearing the way for you to mark both the nullifier and reactor techs. At this point, the micro rift is automatically destroyed, but this is no longer an issue, since you now have a new way into that area. We collect the nullifier first, which causes a pop-up that says, "Heck yeah, time to wipe out some stuff." Sure bro, let's wipe out some stuff. You're going to have to build a lot of nullifiers, and the problem is you don't have enough energy to do that. There is a bunker though, which contains a ton of crystals, and collecting it is no longer a problem now, because we don't need it to defend the Liberation ship. We now have the anti-creeper coming from the emitter doing that for us. So you collect the bunker and it says, more Teknites, loads of crystals. Just imagine what you could do with this. Well, I know exactly what I could do with this. I'm going to use these acquired crystals to destroy those 2 drone gates. Also, it's necessary to take out the anti-creeper emitter. The reason for that is because otherwise, sooner or later, the anti-creeper will overpower the creeper, kill a drone, which will fill up the room again, and you'll be stuck in an endless cycle. If you destroy the emitter, you'll break that cycle. With the gateways destroyed, we can now open up the path to the remaining bunker so it can not only start firing at the creeper pool, but also take out the remaining immobile drone. This will cause the dig packet gateway to break the adjacent block, which in turn gives us another Technite that says Tech Dome upgrade. Trust me. The reason we want to upgrade our Tech Dome efficiency is because you now have the liberty to move the Liberation ship to the right, and when you do, you'll light some Tech Domes previously hidden in the dark, which will cause the Technite gauge at the top to start accumulating. The net yield will be 1 Technite more than what you would have otherwise had without the upgrade. Secondly, you gain access to a blaster that you can move out. It seems unlikely that it'll make it, but there it goes. In the meantime, the dig packet gateway will break another creeper-filled block. This is why I had previously positioned the rocket launcher in that seemingly weird spot I put it in. If you fail to kill the creeper in time, then the shield will break and the creeper will fall onto and destroy the micro rift, and that would be another thing we really cannot afford to happen. We obtain the reactor tech, which says energy self-provision. Who wouldn't enjoy this? We can finally start generating our own energy by building reactors, and there is no need to keep the shield around any longer. I'm setting up a repulsor to disperse the creeper hidden below the white crystal, and I'm also going to move the rocket launcher into the top left area. This will give us access to another Technite. Making sure that the blaster is set to fire at creeper only, you can clear the area and get some nullifiers built in order to take out the remaining gateway. In the meantime, our Technite count has amassed to 8, which is enough for a beacon range upgrade. With the upgrade, you can get 1 more micro rift within your range, granting you access to the top center room. As the gateway is now gone, you can move in the blaster to kill off the remaining drones themselves. If you're very careful with your timing, you can shoot all the drones and still get the blaster out alive. Take into account that at this stage, you cannot afford to lose that blaster. You can move the blaster to the top chamber in order to kill the drone that's blocking the path, and in the meantime you are awarded an extra Technite that the launcher has been shooting. You can move the launcher down again to a spot where it'll be more helpful. In the top chamber, killing the drone with the blaster will cause the dig packet gateway to clear the path. I'm also going to reduce the anti-creeper emitter's health by 6 points, because that will be helpful to us at a later point. The last thing I'm going to do is set up a repulsor to shoot into the creeper pool down below, in an attempt to get the creeper pixel to flip once more and give us access to yet another Technite. It will take several attempts. By letting the blaster multitask in both rooms, you'll slowly but gradually make your way towards the desired outcome, while the launcher and the bunker keep firing at the other creeper pool. repeating the repulsor trick a few times will allow you to obtain the Teknite, and I'm going to build a room full of reactors to illustrate how that is utterly futile. There is a moving force field in that room, which took me way too long to make, which will prevent you from building on any of the walls. And poof, there they all go. No mercy. That room isn't meant to build things in. You finally made it to the end of the upper corridor and you can build an ore rig there. However, we're not going to upgrade yet because we'll need the 2-in-1 trick again. With the second rig built and the bunker no longer serving any purpose, we'll mark the bunker for collection. This will not only give us another Teknite, but it also has a useful message. Skills on fleek, my friend, keep 'em coming. Now, let me talk to you about the corridor on the right with the dark beam in it. That's this one right here. As soon as you break the blocks, the room will fill up with creeper, but you may rest assured. The dark beam will be safe and the creeper won't spill out to the left, unless for some reason you decide to point a repulsor at it. Okay, cool. So that tells us that we can break all of these blocks without having to worry. Increase our ore storage capacity and build some more reactors. There is another informative holocube in the upper section that tells us that even if the top left area is covered in creeper, there will still be a way for your packets to feed the beacon. A bit of useful info for you to keep in mind. Cool, let's keep that in mind, shall we? On we go. Dig packet opens up new paths and will destroy the micro rift. And that's okay really, you don't need that rift anymore. A bunch of extra nanochips are now up for grabs, and if you move the liberation ship to the right, you have access to another nanochip and a holocube. The holocube carries a gleeful piece of advice. This spot makes for an excellent beacon location. Well, I think so too, but the beacon takes us all the way up here, and we've got quite the road ahead of us before we can get to it. Let's build some more reactors and wait until we collect the holocube at the bottom of the corridor. Are you packing enough power to fire up a dark beam? Well, the answer is yes, barely, because you need an energy collection level of 12 to sustain a beam. At this point, you might be tempted to increase your reactor efficiency given the fact that you have enough Teknites for it, but that would be a grave mistake. You'll need these Teknites for something else. It was necessary to clear the entire path on top, because otherwise you wouldn't have enough room to build reactors. Now, for the next challenge. I'm going to create a safe state here and show you that taking out this drone gate simply with nullifiers is not an option. They just get destroyed because of the weird creeper fields running there. Next, you might be tempted to bring in the mirror to refract the beam onto the gateway, but that wouldn't work either. Once you decimate the immobile drone guarding the gate, a new and pretty strong one will come out and blow up the mirror pretty much instantly. Instead, what you want to do is excavate the block to the right of the drone gate so you can sneak in a nullifier there. Since this soil releases anti-creeper, there is no avoiding that the moving drone will spawn. But there is a small catch to this section. Look at the build rate of the nullifier. It has only 5 parts built and then it stops. This is because the drone is blocking the beam and the weird creeper field immediately builds up behind it, making the area impenetrable for your build packets. This means that you'll only have small windows of opportunity to sneak some packets past the gate, which is right between one drone being killed and a new one spawning. It will, therefore, take a few cycles to get that gateway nullified. Once the nullifier does its thing, you may select the block with the nano chip in it. There is a very good reason why you can't do this beforehand. As you can see, when you break that block, the dig packet gateway will step in and open up 2 additional paths, and this would give the strong drones the option to move out of the chamber through the bottom, which is likely to happen since drones have a tendency to choose the path of least resistance. If a drone makes it out through the bottom, you'd be utterly powerless to stop it. After the drone is killed, stop the beam. You can do this because the creeper won't kill the dark beam, but also in this spot right here, creeper is amassing into a pool that will eventually flip. This is actually the fastest way of getting rid of the creeper. You could consider bringing in the dark mirror, which is not a bad idea, but let me show you what happens if you try to do that. Boom! Because of weird force field shenanigans, the mirror is destroyed. Instead, just wait. If you let the force fields just do their thing, the room will clear itself. In the meantime, you can break the rightmost block in the top row. This will launch a thick pool of creeper into the corridor, which is why I set up the rocket launcher in a spot where it can help out. Had you broken this block while the beam was still active, you would have had some issues energy-wise. After all, the creeper pool takes out some of your reactors, bringing the energy level below 12, which wouldn't have been enough to sustain a beam. We can now collect an extra Teknite and build a new ore rig. We're not going to use any upgrades yet, however, because we'll need to use the same 2-in-1 trick once more to also clear the block that's in the dark beam's path. When the room's been sufficiently cleared, build an ore rig and collect the nanochip. The nanochip will give us another valuable hint. It reads, "Another lone Teknite, you're doing great. Did you know, increasing your ore storage is not the only way to increase your ore storage?" I'll let you think about that one for a while. So at this point you have plenty of Teknites and you might be tempted to use the increase ore storage upgrade once more. However, there is another way. Have a look at the storage of the anti-creeper makers. If you choose to upgrade your weapon range, you'll double the storage capacity of the anti-creeper makers. This is the second way to reactivate your ore rigs and allowing yourself to advance. If you don't use this upgrade here and now, you'll get stuck at a later stage that I will get back to. I'm going to bring in the shield at the bottom, and once the last top block is broken, I'm going to do something that might seem weird at first glance. I'll mark the block that leads to the room with the beacon tech in it, and then I'm going to destroy the anti-creeper emitter as well. Then I'm going to free the second mirror, but be on your guard. As soon as the block breaks, that room will also fill with creeper. You therefore need to make sure that you move the mirror out in time before it is destroyed. We now have access to a few more nanochips, the top one of which contains the message, "How are you on energy levels? Doing okay?" At this point in time, you should invest in a reactor efficiency upgrade. And the reason for it brings our focus back to the top, where meanwhile our anti-creeper emitter has been destroyed. See, we want the dig packet gateway to remove the block that's in the dark beam's way, but it can only do that from the top of the block, coming from the micro rift. This is why we're draining out all the anti-creeper from this area, so that the path for the dig packets is clear. Since I told you that the beacon feed is safe, you can conclude from that the micro rift won't be destroyed by creeper, even if you have no idea how the force fields run. I'm building a repulsor here to speed the process up a bit, although truth be told I don't really know if it makes a difference. The reason why we upgraded our energy efficiency is because the creeper is now feasting on the reactors, which is gradually reducing the energy levels. Without the upgrade, they would again fall below 12, which is insufficient to continuously power the beam. With the upgrade, however, you can keep them just above the threshold. Once the path is clear, a dig packet will unblock the path of the beam. Collect 3 more Teknites to crank up your count to 16, which is just enough to purchase your next upgrade, an increase in beacon range. This allows you to obtain the beacon tech. Now, you might struggle with your energy a bit, however the situation is just stable enough so that slowly but steadily you'll manage to get the tech. And there you have it. Beacon tech, well done. Keep plowing, I'd say. Next, I'm going to preemptively position the launcher in this little spot and build a new... Oh, we can build only one beacon on the entire map. Alright then, so we destroy the one that was already there and build a new one in a suitable spot. We now have access to a new section. First, let me show you why it would be unwise to move upwards from here. The block contains a lot of anti-creeper, which will not only spawn some powerful drones, but also destroy the micro rift. And you're stuck. So we make our way around the bend and collect the holocube we find on our way. It reads, "The only way to destroy this drone gate is if you sacrifice the micro rift first. Go ahead and try to do it otherwise. You'll see what I mean." Okay, well, I can show you, right? Save the game, build a nullifier, and poof, it's gone. This applies to any spot you could build a nullifier, except the location where the micro rift currently is. And they're taken out again. And Next Trap is thinking, hey, I could get another Teknite out of this. This would destroy a bunch of stacked reactors below the block, however, which will negatively affect and probably jeopardize your energy balance. So leave that Teknite where it is for the time being. Instead, use the rocket launcher to clear the way in order to make it around the bend and down, collecting the crystals along the way. You collect the nanochip that tells you, keep collecting these babies. And it is at the latest at this point that you would realize you need a weapon range upgrade. If you hadn't upgraded, you wouldn't be able to clear the creeper in this corridor and you'd again be stuck. I decided not to collect the next Teknite for the time being. It costs 135 packets to obtain, and spending your crystals on that would be a waste at this stage. Instead, I collect the shield tech, which says, I think you can put this to good use. Next, it's time to make some preparations. Move the launcher out and replace it with a beacon so you can light the bottom right Teknite. The following section is very tricky and I'll show you a few ways it can go wrong. The first mistake would be to break the block and do nothing. The block contains a lot of anti-creeper, which will immediately flow to the right and spawn some violent drones. Boom, mission failure. Okay, so you think to yourself, let's fire up the beam as soon as we break the block. Good idea. Alas, the anti-creeper will creep upwards, spawn some violent drones there, and even if they don't directly move through the micro rift to wreak havoc, they'll cut off the supply to the beam, and you still lose the bunker. So instead, build a repulsor facing down above the micro rift, and build a shield right above the dart beam. You'll also want to move this dark mirror out of the way or disable it. When the block breaks, fire up the second beam. The shield keeps the anti-creeper from going up. Now, however, you are slashing through your crystal reserve like there's no tomorrow because you're far from generating enough power to sustain 2 beams. The purpose of this setup is that the enemy dig packet gateway can remove this block. And that is the reason we've set up a repulsor over the micro rift. It pushes the anti-creeper down and clears the path for the dig packet. Once the anti-creeper clears behind the second beam, you'll see that the dig packet is sent, and when the block is removed, you now have only 1 active beam instead of 2, which is a situation you can sustain in terms of energy consumption. In the meantime, notice how there is a decayable block behind the drone gate. It is necessary to collect the bunker before this block's eroded. Just in time. Once the block is gone, some stronger drones are released, which, as you can see, would have killed the bunker. If you notice that some of the drones try to avoid the beam by moving up, make sure you disable the micro rift. Drones won't harm them. This section takes a long time, so let's make good use of the time we have in our hands to pre-select some of the collectibles we'll want to acquire later. At a given time, the beam will overpower the drones, causing the creeper to clear in that area. This enables you to acquire the remaining Teknites in the corridor. Sheesh, well done. Although you'll definitely need this Teknite, the more important thing is that you freed up the space this thing was occupying. Indeed, now that the Teknite is collected, you can sneak nullifiers behind it and put a halt to this seemingly incessant stream of misery. When the gates are finally destroyed and we're waiting for the drones to be killed, we can start preparing our next step. We'll build a shield above this micro rift, and we'll also get a repulsor ready that will aim to the left. Position the repulsor between the micro rift and the drone, and wait until that weird force field passes by. There, now you can activate it. It will push the creeper to the left and allow the dig packet gateway to remove the block below the rift. We'll also want to remove the other solid block, so we destroy the bottom micro rift in order to be able to push the anti-creeper upwards. Don't forget to disable the shield though, otherwise this will happen. So, disable the shield or destroy it altogether, and then a dig packet will come and remove the block. This will also wipe out the repulsor and the beacon, but that's okay. Our next aim is to build a new beacon in a position where it can light 2 new ore blocks. To this purpose, we'll use the following trick. Re-enable the dark mirror to make the beam shoot up, and use the little cavity to build a new repulsor. When built, pause the game, disable the mirror, and move the repulsor into position. The repulsor will hold off the creeper for quite some time, although it will eventually be overpowered. When the area is lit again, you can use the beam to clear it. Just don't be too eager on breaking the block. Although your beam can easily hold off the drones if they spawn, there is not really a possibility to get a nullifier built anymore, resulting in an everlasting stalemate with the drones. So make sure that the gateway is destroyed first. You can toggle the mirror to clear the creeper a bit faster. Since we are now pretty comfortable in the energy department, it's okay to collect the extra Teknite that we were holding off. After taking out the gateway, you can now break the block. The anti-creeper that gushes down will take out the remaining drones for you. Time to collect some more Teknites, and we can already build a new ore rig in the bottom right corner. Don't upgrade it yet though, because, you guessed it, you're going to have to rely on the 2-in-1 trick once again. Two rigs built means we can use our next upgrade, a regular ore storage upgrade this time. The next thing I'm going to do is clear a super dense creeper pool in the bottom right corner. You won't lose the mission if you don't, but you'll spend an eternity on clearing the area later if you don't do it now. You'll obtain another Teknite in the process. Next, I'll make some preparations. I'll do it first and then explain why I'm doing it. First, I retrieve the mirrors from their foreign mission. Delete the repulsor, as well as the beacon. Set up a new beacon in the cavity and build a new repulsor next to the mirror. Create some space near the liberation ship, because we want to move it left so we can light the topmost leftmost block. Unpause. Rebuild some reactors just because we can. The reason I built the repulsor is so that it can disperse the pixel of anti-creeper that the mouse is currently hovering over. The goal is to clear the way so the enemy dig packet gateway can take out this speck of soil right here. You don't necessarily need the repulsor, but it will be faster this way. Once the path has been cleared, you'll see a dig packet travel across the map in order to remove the block, and by extension it will start removing the entire top row. With the help of the mirrors, you'll eventually manage to collect the blaster tech, which brings you another message from our sponsor. Before you continue, you should make sure that the liberation ship is protected against both drones and anti-creeper. You read that right, not creeper, anti-creeper. You wouldn't want the dig packet gateway to get shut off, would you? One tip though, a single, strategically placed shield should be enough. So we select the block in the top left corner and then make haste. The location where we want to place a shield is here. We've also unlocked the possibility to build blasters, which is what we're going to do around the drone gateway hidden in the wall. I'm disarming all of them and setting them to fire at drones only. As the dig packet gateway keeps excavating terrain, you'll notice how the mirror tech is uncovered. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get to it yet though. The drone is freed, but it is immobile. However, thanks to some weird magic, at some point it will spontaneously combust and release a stronger one. This is why it's absolutely needed to have the blasters at the ready. See, there it goes. The new drones have a heavy anti-creeper payload, which prevents the packet gateway from taking the third pack of soil. So it's necessary to take out the gateway first. It takes 5 hits to destroy. If the drone gate is destroyed, the packet gateway will come in and remove the last block. If it doesn't, you can place a repulsor and point it to the left. So, when the third and rightmost block is removed, you can see that a new path will open up and unlock the Micro Rift tech. In order to get to it, you need to clear the creeper first. So let's get a launcher in and build some more blasters to clear out the creeper, and you can also use the mirror toggle trick to speed up the process. When you finally get to it, you obtain the Micro Rift tech, which carries a message saying, Micro Rift tech, improving your maneuverability since 2016. 2016 is the year Creeper World 2 came out, right? Otherwise that comment doesn't make any sense whatsoever. In order to advance, it's necessary to give up the remaining Micro Rifts on the map and build new ones in two specific locations, one below the Liberation ship and one in this particular spot right here. It's also necessary to reposition the Liberation ship 2 spots to the right again. The reason we choose that particular spot to build the Micro Rift has to do with the fact that we'll want to move the beacon further to the right in order to start exploring the rightmost part of the map. As you can see, you won't be able to do that if you don't have a Micro Rift there. Once the beacon is built, you can move in the launcher and some blasters, because the creeper has created a thin pool that's blocking the way. Make sure to not position the launcher too far to the right. In case you didn't know, rocket launchers always pick the most dense pool of creeper within their range to shoot at. If you position the launcher further to the right, it won't fire at the particular spot we want to clear, because it will be distracted by more dense creeper located below all of the crystals. We'll also scoot the Liberation ship one cell to the left again, so it is positioned right above the Micro Rift. This will slightly shorten the distance that the packets will have to travel. There we go. We can now pick up the new holocube, which reads, "In Next Step maps, there is no such thing as too many collectibles. Knock yourself out." You can now place a Micro Rift in this spot, because you will have to create the shortest possible travel distance for your dig packets. The following corridor, which has been hidden from view because of all the crystals in it, opens and closes on regular intervals. You'll need 2 additional speed upgrades in order to make it around all the bends in time. the speed upgrades, you'll be able to get one packet through each time before the area is shut off again. Four more to go. That's 3. That's 2. One more. As soon as the block breaks, the enemy dig packet gateway will come into action and start taking out the spots of soil in the middle. But hold on a minute, the Nexus has also started charging. This is confirmed in the message that appears when you collect the next holocube. Uh-oh, looks like you've woken up the sleeping Nexus. I'm afraid you're on your own with this one. Antoine's front paws are getting very sweaty. Now, there is no need to panic. This trap is actually just a fake one, just to give you a bit of a scare and perhaps lure you into making some irrational decisions. Even if you undertake no further steps at this point, the force fields are set up in a way that should bring the Nexus charge rate to a halt somewhere around 99%. You can start shooting at the creeper with everything you've got to bring this percentage down if you want, but in the end it wouldn't really matter. You can see that at a given point the area starts clearing, and you can build an ore rig in the top right corner of the room. However, hold off on upgrading, because you're going to have to use the same 2-in-1 trick again. We can now build a second ore rig and upgrade the ore storage in order to obtain 2 additional dark mirrors. These 2 mirrors can now help you in the top left section of the map, where you can now start taking out the creeper emitters and finally collect the dark mirror tech. You'll also have to spend another 8 Teknites on the next ore storage upgrade. Notice how the Nexus will stop charging soon before it blows up. While you're waiting for the crystals to be collected in the top left corner, in the rightmost room, you can take advantage of the void that has been created to build a micro rift. This will allow for enemy dig packets to travel through and give you access to 6 more Teknites as well as a bunker. While we're destroying the emitters, you can grab the bunker as it serves no purpose. It will give you a sweet reward. Thank you for rescuing this bunker. It adds 5,000 points to the scoreboard. With the correct setup, you'll be able to collect the Dark Mirror tech, which comes with a bit of a motivational text. Good job, my friend. You've come a long way. Keep it up. We'll get some Dark Mirrors set up while we're waiting. The emitter will require a total of 9 nullifier hits to destroy. In the meantime, pay attention to this lingering pixel of Creeper. It is one of the spots that impedes you from obtaining the Dark Beam tech. You can quickly and easily remove this dot with the beam at this stage. If you don't do it now, you can still do it later, but it will cost you more time. When you've taken out the emitter, you can shift your focus to the right part of the map again, setting up the mirrors properly while being careful you don't accidentally ravage the beacon in the process. You can redirect the beam to shoot the drones in the next section. Sneak some packets past to break the block, and in order to save time, you can also get an ore rig built behind the drone gate and use up 9 additional Teknites for another ore storage upgrade. You can then place 2 nullifiers at the same time in order to take out the gateway quicker. When the gateway itself is gone, we wait for the beam to kill the remaining drones while we collect the remaining Teknites as well as the rocket launcher tech. If you want to go all the way, you can opt to destroy the dig packet gateway near the liberation ship at this point. We won't be needing it anymore since advancing to the next room contains a new gateway that will send out dig packets. You know this because I stay faithful to my style. Any gateway will spawn only one thing. Since there haven't been neither drones nor phantom spores coming from this gate, it must be sending out dig packets. When the gate is gone, you can use the freed up space to place an ore rig there, granting you access to some bonus crystals that will award you no less than 25,000 extra mission points. Don't upgrade yet though. Why, you ask? Well, you've guessed it. It only makes sense to obtain these bonus crystals with the 2-in-1 trick. After a bit more patience, you'll collect the launcher tech that tells you, Launcher tech, you're doing extraordinarily well. Final stretches, keep it up. You'll need the launcher to clear the next section. You can get a few built, and then when the last drone is destroyed, you can stop the beam and build more. At this point, I also want to show you that under no circumstance you can disable the dark beam. If you do, you'll immediately wish you hadn't. If you stop the beam, you'll notice how force fields are still trying to get Creeper into the area, which will take out many units you hold dear. So that's a no-go. Luckily we saved beforehand so we can resume the mission like nothing happened. Let the heavy launcher assault commence. When the area is cleared and you've acquired all the collectibles, you can build an ore rig and upgrade your ore storage once more in order to advance. You'll also want to max out your packet speed, because that will be invaluable for the next section. Once that's done, be sure to place a micro rift as closely to the block as you can. When it's built, the dig packet gateway will also provide access to the bonus crystals. It's not a luxury to build some more rocket launchers here, as they will greatly help us out. Because here's what's gonna happen. When you break the next block, you'll liberate the anti-creeper pool that will rapidly wiggle up through the corridor and activate some fierce drones. You'll need a maxed out packet speed and minimal traveling distance alongside some weaponry for assistance in order to collect all the bunkers before they get shattered by the drones. Ready? Here we go. When you break the block and see that the anti-creeper is quickly moving up, you'll collect some Teknites urging you to think fast. You'll need to upgrade your beacon range before the enemy dig packet gateway breaks the blocks. You'll also have access to a holocube, which reads, "In all honesty, this is just here so you wouldn't be smart and place a shield here." Sneaky, I know, hashtag sorry not sorry. Indeed, you could have saved yourself all this trouble by setting up a shield in that spot, but the holocube is preventing you from doing that. When the holocube disappears after collecting it, placing a shield there doesn't bring you anything anymore because the anti-creeper will have already snuck past by that point. Place a blaster there instead and let the race begin. Phew, the imminent risks have subsided. Now you're faced with your next issue. How can you take out the drone gate? There is no time to build a nullifier there before the next drones come along and destroy it, right? The key is to actually retreat. You can bring in the dark beam to that area again, and then you set up a new line of defense further away from the gateway. As the drones now have to travel further, you have enough time to sneak dig packets past the drones to get a nullifier built in time. When that's done, rebuild all your arsenal so you can take on the next creeper onslaught. Let the remaining drones do their thing. They'll slowly make their way down where the beam will effortlessly take them out. Just don't forget to disable or destroy the micro rift. When you're ready, break the next block. Caution, the creeper will be intense. It is worth pointing out that at this stage, as opposed to before, now, it's no longer useless to start firing at the creeper in the bottom left area. All this time, the fields here were being fueled by the area you're now trying to take control over, which means that if you shoot the fields below, this is actually constituting an attack on two fronts. You don't need to do it this way, but it will help you clear the area a bit quicker. After an intense assault, you'll be able to advance your units and finally make it to the holocube. You're very close now. Clear all the remaining creeper in all areas you visited, then you can obtain the Dark Beam tech. Keep up that fighting spirit. We can finally collect the last holocube, but I'll skip over the message and get back to it later. First, I'd like you to notice how, as there is still creeper in the bottom left area, you still shouldn't go for the Dark Beam tech yet. By this time, the creeper has been thinned out considerably, which means that you could perhaps still salvage the situation without failing the mission, but the most convenient way is to simply clear out all the creeper by use of your weapons first, and then you can obtain the Dark Beam tech without a problem. When you collect the last holocube, it reads, "Hey, dead end?" Think again. If you break the next block, you'll push the Nexus over the edge. You think you're ready? Then go for it. With all the creeper now gone except for the areas we can't access, you can now finally make it to the Dark Beam. The message says, "Booyah! Time to kick some booty." What's that? I think Antoine smells victory. It's time to prepare for the grand finale. When you get to upgrading, you'll notice that you have maxed out your regular ore storage upgrades. The only thing you can do is increasing your weapon range. That costs 30 Teknites though, but guess how many you have? Exactly. Once your preparations are complete, you can break the block. The Nexus will continue charging, and when it hits 100%, showdown. As the Nexus has now blown up everything in the vicinity, you can acquire the Master Nano Chip. It contains 490 Teknites. got the Master Nano Chip, congratulations! The Master Nano Chip, in case you didn't know, gives you a free pass to purchase all the remaining upgrades. Here's the thing though, even after you've purchased all the upgrades, you still won't be able to get the ore block mined. Time to let the grey matter shine one last time. Good luck! What you should know is that you are allowed to purchase all the upgrades except the ore rig efficiency one. What this does is increase the yield that you get from extracted ore, which is not what we want to go for. If you increase the yield by purchasing this upgrade, you'll hit the maximum ore capacity before getting to fully mine all the ore in the block. If you don't purchase the upgrade, it will be the other way around. As we've increased the weapon range a final time, we've maximized the capacity. All that's left to do now is wait for all ore to be mined from the block. Notice how, towards the end, your spare capacity will run up to exactly 1 ore unit. If the block had contained as little as 1 unit more, the mission would have been unbeatable. And after an insane 2 hours of mission time, we're finally there. You've done it again! You've obtained the capsule and reached your goal. You have proven yourself worthy in yet another Next Step challenge. You are a true puzzler. Nay, a hero! Your dedication, perseverance, patience, and especially understanding of this game's mechanics is yet again crowned with victory. Now claim your title and proclaim your superiority over your peers. Or don't, be a humble leader. That works too. Either way, I hope you had fun playing. I know I had fun making this. Tileset is Fragile by MadMac. Background is Eyeless12 by yours truly. Until next time. And off you go to the knuckle cracker, little fella.